listening to Ring Chronicles with Lance Vaughn and Glenn Ritchie.
All right, so have you heard any news this week?
Oh, my God. You know, I don't think there's ever been a week in wrestling that had, as far as the wrestling itself, more positive things that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
But in the behind the scenes, real life stuff, to have such terrible stuff. So let's knock out the first part of our normal routine. Do we have any layered of hate?
Just a little bit. So why don't we just go ahead and...
This is the Lariat of Hate.
All right, so first off, this is a pretty good thing. The video for our top 10 fat wrestlers of all time is still getting views.
Okay,
It's still,
good.
It's still rolling. So there's a little bit of hate there, but it's. I guess you could. I guess it's more pushback rather than hate, but I'll go ahead and go through it anyway. So this guy said, okay, so he kind of did what the guy did last week, where he kind of left a book in the comments. And he goes, McGuire twins, Happy Humphrey, Uncle Elmer, Adrian Adonis, KKB, Kamala, Bastion Booger, Mabel, Earthquake, Typhoon, Mount Fuji, Gorilla Monsoon, Haystack Calhoun, Giant Haystack, Matilda the Hun, etc. I wonder, how are all these wrestlers considered?
I wouldn't call that hate. I think that's just like, well, like, you know, were they considered for the top 10? Or if there was a longer list, maybe they would be somewhere on that list.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those names were considered for the top 10.
Yep.
Like Earthquake, Typhoon. I didn't think about Adrian Adonis, but that's a good one. And then Kamala, I considered.
Mm-hmm.
Even though his 90s run wasn't that great, but in the 80s he was a terrifying heel.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, actually, before WrestleMania 3, there is a video of Kamala body slamming Andre the Giant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, just I was shocked to see that.
Right.
You know, wrestlers like Kamala, if wrestling didn't have a history of racism,
Mm-hmm.
probably would have made it further than they did.
Yep. And then another comment on that same video: Earthquake should have been in here somewhere. That guy was a big dude, but he was an amazing wrestler.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of Earthquake love. In the comments.
Yeah. That's definitely not the first and second one.
So there are fans that feel like that I've slighted Earthquake.
Right.
You know, that's actually.
You're gonna get canceled over Earthquake.
Well, it's constructive feedback.
It is.
You know, that I didn't consider Earthquake in my list.
Yep.
And you know, I'm glad that people still remember Earthquake enough to complain.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. But you know, we tried to make this. You know, whatever we talk about, we always try to tie it back to some historic point in wrestling. And it sounds like we've got some viewers that are well versed in the history of wrestling.
Oh yeah.
All right, so let me go over to some of the TikTok videos this week. I seem to recall people agreeing with us, if anything. Yeah, it's everybody was agreeing with us. I posted the videos about Roman Reigns need to be replaced as the face of the company and stuff like that, and we're not getting much pushback from that. I did post last week when you were talking about Abdullah the Butcher and spreading hepatitis C, and one guy goes, "Holy fuck, I did not know this." So we know you educated at least one person.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And it's technically allegedly,
you're right.
but the guy that got hepatitis C from him, Abdullah the Butcher had like a rare strand of hepatitis C, genetic strand or whatever.
Yeah.
So like the chances is that where he got it from.
All right, so that was a short lariat of hate.
I don't have any errors or omissions.
I don't think I do either. If I did, I forgot. So anyway, we moving on to the main topic.
Which is what? Because we got the Royal Rumble, we got Vince McMahon.
Jeez, and then they kind of overlap with the press conference.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know. We saw good things happen at the Rumble. I was happy with both Rumble winners.
I predicted both Royal Rumble winners.
Yes, you did. That's another thing we could talk about, the predictability of WWE.
Well, if you watch it as long as I do, you pretty much
it's like
can connect the dots.
It's like I was saying. I think they just play it safe most of the time. So it's, but at the same time, they usually go with what makes sense. So can't really argue. But yeah, Cody won the Rumble, which was, I think, what we wanted, but we were skeptical. Like there were two things I was terrified of hearing during that match. One was MJF's music, and the other one was The Rock's music.
Yeah,
I did not want the buzzer to go off and then hear one of those two come out. So yeah.
Although I was disappointed that Hulk Hogan didn't. 'Cause there was a rumor about that,
Right? Yeah.
Although I was wondering, like, how are they going to toss him over the rope without permanently injuring him at his age?
Yeah.
I mean, he's up there with Flair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I still wanted to see it.
Yeah. Well, there's also been talk today about Pat McAfee taking somebody's spot in the Rumble. And I have to agree with that, because that really goes back to what I was talking about with The Rock. If you put The Rock on the WrestleMania card, he's taking somebody's spot. I mean, they could have put one name I saw was Trick Williams. They could have put Trick Williams in the Rumble.
They could have. That would have been good.
Instead of doing the joke with Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
So,
I will discuss one of my favorite parts of the Royal Rumble.
Okay.
R-Truth.
Yes. the only entrant in both the men's and the women's, right?
Yeah. Oh, it about killed me.
Yeah.
When I forgot who it was that was coming to the ring.
Yeah.
But she was coming.
Valhalla.
Valhalla.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is this very serious character.
Yeah.
And then as she's coming,
and then he looks at her funny as he's walking by.
Yeah. And then R-Truth's music hits, and R-Truth comes into the ring, and he's like, it's all women, And then he gets thrown out of the ring.
I think he said, "Where are the guys?"
Yeah.
That was good.
And then during the actual men's Royal Rumble,
mm-hmm.
he goes to the corner and he reaches for the tag for Tom and Nick
mm-hmm.
Mysterio.
Yeah.
And Tom and Nick Mysterio tags him.
Yeah.
And it's a hot tag, and he runs in there and starts beating everybody up. And I was just dying. I mean,
man.
Okay, so R-Truth has been able to get wrestlers to break character
mm-hmm.
on live television.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing good comedy work whenever wrestlers my favorite one is when he was talking to Damian Priest, and he was talking about what Damian said or did to him or whatever. I can't remember. And R-Truth was basically saying that he knew that he didn't mean it because he could see it in his eyes. Or that he, or that it hurt him to do it or whatever. I don't remember what it was. But he could say he could see it in his eyes. And, like, Damian turns around, like, and the Void's looking at him.
Yeah.
And he's smiling, That is one of my favorite. I mean, the guy gets funnier over time. This is not the first time that he has done something hilarious during a Royal Rumble, though. One year, I don't remember which Royal Rumble it was, but he comes to the Royal Rumble, and he pulls out a ladder from underneath the ring. He puts the ladder in the middle of the ring, climbs to the top of the ladder, and goes to reach for a briefcase that's not there. Because he thought it was the Money in the Bank.
Yep.
It's all great.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I believe that there's a bias among wrestling fans to assume that the more recent things are better than the older things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I sometimes wonder if that affects me as well. And I think Dave Meltzer is affected by it. He thinks that the newer wrestlers are better than the older wrestlers, and that's why there's more 5-star matches now. So I don't agree with that. Just because just because Ricky Steamboat didn't do tope suicidas every 5 seconds doesn't mean that he was any less good than any guy today. Mm-hmm. So, okay, I get it that they can do 630 or whatever maneuvers, 630s or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't care. Big deal. Can you make me believe that you're dying in the ring and that my cheers will actually allow you to continue?
Yeah.
Like, can you do that? I bet you can't do that.
Right.
But you can spin around 630 times. But you can't make me believe that my cheers will make you win. It's like the Cody Rhodes promo that you played the other day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about as old school as it gets.
Yeah.
But I will say this. When it comes to comedy wrestling, I honestly can't think of a better wrestler than R-Truth. Mm-hmm. I just can't. Most comedy wrestling has been bad in wrestling history. Okay. It's been awful. Okay. Mm-hmm. R-Truth is a complete, he's a national treasure.
Yes.
So.
And I mean this in a good way. He's believable.
Yeah.
Just like you want, whatever you have a wrestler do, you want it to be believable. And he does that. It's great. It's natural for him.
Yeah. Yeah. And he always finds new material.
Yeah.
I mean, right now he's probably on the biggest creative phase of his career with the whole Judgment Day thing. Every week it's something great. Like it never fails. You want to tune into Raw just to see what R-Truth is going to do next. Like I was watching a clip and he was talking about Tom and Nick Mysterio. I think I don't know who it was, Damien or whatever. And he's like, "Is Nick Mysterio okay? I can't find him on Facebook." And he apparently found Tom Mysterio.
Okay.
We couldn't find Nick Mysterio. And he talks about how he's never met Nick Mysterio. He's met Tom, but not Nick. I guess Tom is Dom.
Yeah.
Dirty Dom.
Oh, man.
Also in the Royal Rumble, we had the return of Liv Morgan.
Yes.
Apparently she got bonded out or whatever from jail.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she was bonded out just like a couple hours later after she was arrested.
Probably.
But yeah, I mean, there were there were two that I was expecting, Liv and Jade Cargill. And I think they made Jade look really good, especially picking up Nia and throwing her out.
Yeah, that was excellent. That was excellent. That made her look real good. I called it before the match that I thought Bayley was going to win, just because Bayley hasn't had her WrestleMania moment, and she's been in the company so long. She's one of the 4 horsewomen. It was her time to be in the main event scene,
right?
And she's grown as a wrestler. Now, she doesn't do some of the high flying stuff she did in her early part of her career, but as far as like promos, playing a character, putting on a match that makes sense, she's only gotten better in that sense.
Yeah, I don't know too much about Bayley, honestly. I've known of her for a long time, but since I just started kind of keeping track of WWE again, she's new to me. But she looked good. What, she come in at number 3?
Yeah,
and made it to the end. So, yeah.
I mean, how exhausting has that got to be?
I know.
I mean, if you come in at number 3, you might as well have come in at number 1.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there ain't much difference. Because the first two are
come out at the same time.
Are the first ones in the match.
Right.
So you're the first one to come in after other people have
after the match has started. Yeah.
So
yeah,
that had to have been exhausting.
Yeah.
Cody came in at 15, I noticed.
Yeah.
So he came in halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
And he did the typical babyface getting beat up the whole match, but coming out on top at the end.
Right.
Routine.
Right.
That's kind of his shtick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shtick. What is it called?
Shtick.
I
think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
But, they pretty much, with that promo they did, whatever it was, last Monday or the Monday before, they pretty much gave away that it was going to be them two at the end.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned during the Rumble that the women's match or the women's Rumble was better, and I think it was too, just because I felt like no one else mattered. Like I just felt like they gave it away, and I was like, I know who's going to be at the end.
Yeah,
it's just who do they give it to. So I mean that's kind of my thoughts on the whole match. I felt like they ruined it with that promo they did back and forth. Last week.
There was less certainty in the women's match.
Right. Yeah. If you're paying attention and you watch wrestling long enough, you knew it was going to be Cody and Punk at the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, Cody won, and hopefully they don't pull any shenanigans with this.
Yeah, hopefully not. Of course, Roman Reigns kept the belt.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, that's one of the most pointless matches I've ever seen.
Yeah,
because I mean, it wasn't it like I said in the text that wasn't anything. It was I don't know.
And Logan Paul won by disqualification.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. Those two matches just felt. I mean, honestly, as a whole. So what if you count the Rumble as matches? There were 4 matches. I felt like the women's Rumble was the only one that gave us anything.
Yeah.
It might have been predictable. You were able to call it, but like you said, there was less certainty.
Well, I mean, me calling a wrestling match, I think is a little bit different than the average fan
Right.
calling a wrestling match.
Right.
When I've watched I've watched WWE for, over 30 years. So I can usually call it. Although they do surprise me sometimes. Last year, I thought Cody was going to win the title from Roman.
Yeah. I was hoping he would, and hopefully he does this year. So
yeah,
I just hope they don't pull anything. I'm hoping that's straightforward, and I'm hoping that Seth Rollins is healed up in time for WrestleMania. kind of going back to something you said, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, we were talking about, if Cody doesn't win the Rumble, can he still get into WrestleMania main event? And you mentioned Elimination Chamber. And I think that's how Punk can get in to a title shot at WrestleMania. As long as Seth Rollins is healthy, I still think it's going to be him and Punk.
Also, we had an entrant that wasn't supposed to be in the match.
That's right, because of some shit going on.
Yeah, Braun Breaker.
Yeah, Braun Breaker took Brock Lesnar's spot. And from what I read, it sounds like he did all the planned spots that that Brock was going to do. So,
Really?
yeah, that's what I read. Now look, I would have to go back and watch it again. I don't really remember what he did. I don't even remember how he looked. But that's what I read, is that everything they had planned for Brock, Braun did it. So I mean, I guess that's good for Braun Breaker.
Yeah.
Still wish they just let him be a Steiner.
Yeah. Well, you can't buy the name Steiner.
Yeah, no, you can't.
So it looks like we know a little bit what WrestleMania is going to shape up to be.
Mm-hmm.
Bayley, I do wonder what Bayley's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Is she going to go against EO, which is what I would like to see?
Okay.
Is the Damage Control to be put under some tension?
Okay.
And have EO challenged by Bayley, or is Bayley going to go after the world title, which is held currently by Rhea?
Mm-hmm.
And I doubt that she's going to drop it before WrestleMania.
Right.
I have a feeling that Bayley is going to go against EO.
Okay.
Here's the thing, though. It's going to be kind of interesting to see how it happens. There's a part of me that thinks they're going to try to push Bayley as a face. But EO is over as if she was a face.
Mm-hmm.
And that could backfire
Yeah.
if they did that.
Yeah.
So it's to be seen. But if EO was casted out of Damage Control, well, Asuka and Kyrie are her close friends, and we'd probably see them leave too. And then it would be just Bayley and Dakota Kai.
Yeah. That might be good to cause some drama, but would it be easier? Would it just be less work to have her face Rhea instead? Would it be a safer play?
Well, they're both heels, though, so something would have to change.
Oh, Bayley's a heel?
Bayley's a heel.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I guess
Damage Control
I guess
are
there
heels.
is no. Okay, I guess there is no easy play then.
Damage is complicated, though. Damage Control's heels, but EO gets cheered for.
Huh. How long has she been champion?
Not long, few months.
Okay.
EO and Kyrie are also two wrestlers that I mentioned Dave Meltzer saying were the best in the world,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
among the best in the world,
Right.
that suddenly got no more stars as soon as they went to the WWE.
Yep. No more stars for you.
No more stars. You sold out to the man.
Another one I think we need to mention is Jordan Grace. Coming over from TNA.
She looked good in
Current
that
TNA,
match.
yeah, she looked
I mean,
great.
I'm not talking about like aesthetically. I'm talking about like
Yeah.
in ring.
Well, she looked good all the way around. Yeah, I was happy. I was happy she was in. I guess they're partnered with TNA now. This isn't the first thing I've heard. From them working with TNA.
They had Mickie James as TNA champion enter the Royal Rumble before, which to me though was less shocking because Mickie James is a former WWE talent, but they brought a fresh talent from TNA into the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Actually, Triple H kind of hinted at the Forbidden Door.
Yeah, he did.
They
I'm sorry, it's a Forbidden Door, Trips. I don't give a fuck if you don't like the name. It's called the Forbidden Door, God damn it.
Yeah. Well, she went through the Forbidden Door.
She did. And I was glad. I was glad to see it because I've seen her for a while, and she's done a lot to make herself look like she belongs. She can work well. She has the look, the physical look. She looked like she belonged there.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see where it goes. I guess she's the women's champion right now in TNA.
Yeah, Knockouts champion.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see where it goes. Hopefully she gets a spot there eventually.
That would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed watching her. It was my first time being exposed to her, and I enjoyed her wrestling.
Yeah. Trying to think of other noteworthy things from the show.
Well, maybe it's time that we need to talk about the other thing.
I think we need to talk about the other thing. You're right.
This is a trigger and content warning that some of the material discussed in today's podcast and videos involve material of an extremely graphic nature, involving themes such as sexual assault, sexual trafficking, and some pretty depraved sexual acts. Please be warned, and if this is something not good for you to watch, please watch some of our other videos, as we'll be talking about the Vince McMahon scandal today. Where do we even begin?
Well, first off, is this the same? Is this just a continuation of when Vince left the company a while back?
This is new.
Okay, so this is a whole new person.
This is a whole new person.
Whole new lawsuit. Okay.
Whole new legal situation.
So this is the next thing on top of the pile.
Yeah,
that he's been.
And this is by far. I mean, I'm not saying the other stuff wasn't bad.
Yeah.
This is the worst.
Right.
The allegations. So, basically, we have a former employee named Janelle Grant. That around the time before she started with the WWE, she had lost her parents. The family home was being lost to bankruptcy. She was unemployed. So she was in a really bad, desperate situation. And so the allegations is that as soon after she started, she became pretty much made aware that the condition of her employment involved having sex with Vince McMahon and other people, his friends, other employees, and everything else.
Yeah.
So it turned into not just a sex abuse scandal, but it turned into a sexual trafficking scandal. Okay. We did our episode on the history of women's wrestling.
Yep.
And we talked about how women were mistreated in wrestling. This right here is probably the worst thing I've heard of happening.
Yeah.
And there's an allegation that she was made to sleep with Brock Lesnar as a condition of getting him to re-sign a contract. There's an allegation that Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis raped her in WWE headquarters during business hours, and that
in his office, I believe.
Yeah. And while other employees were aware of what was going on, but they didn't say anything or do anything.
That's probably the most disturbing part about all of this. It sounds like there's a lot of people that knew what was going on.
Yeah.
So,
and then the most bizarre involved. I don't even want to talk about this, man.
I know.
Involved an act of defecation.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to find out more about it, you can just
all you got to do is read the text messages.
Yeah.
Like outside of the actions of Vince McMahon, the next worst thing is how he seems to think he's invisible and he can't be touched by anything. Why would you send plain text messages like that can easily be used as evidence against you? To me, that is that's thinking you can't be punished for anything. You can't be touched. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it.
Well,
do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and he had her sign an NDA.
Yeah.
And promised her $3 million of payments
Mm-hmm.
for keeping silent.
Mm-hmm.
She only got $1 million for it, and that's another thing too. I've heard idiot fans, say, "Well, she got the money and she got the gifts because he gave her like a really nice car and all that kind of stuff." He was doing all of that to groom her into accepting more abuse,
Right.
and to not go public with this whole situation.
Right.
So it wasn't, people I guess want to act like she was well paid, but she was getting groomed into accepting more abuse.
Right.
And apparently her PTSD is so severe that with her next job that she had after the WWE, she lost it because she wasn't able to leave the house for weeks at a time. Is how bad her PTSD was after all of this. There's no amount of money in the world that's worth dealing with that. And that's another thing too. People are like, oh, well, everybody's innocent until proven guilty. Well, I mean, there's freaking text messages
right,
that talk about, I don't even want to like bring up that the text messages were so vile that I feel embarrassed to bring them up publicly.
Yeah.
Although I read them privately.
Yeah.
And you can look them up if you want. Once again, I wouldn't recommend it if you're, not wanting to see some depraved content. I mean, it looked like what like a guy that's never had a relationship with a woman and does nothing but watch porn,
right,
would think is okay to send to a woman.
Right.
I mean,
yeah,
like that's what the messages look like.
And on top of it all, he's 70+ years old.
He's 70 something years old.
Yeah, that's another. This isn't something that happened like 20, 30 years ago. This happened like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I think that needs to be pointed out. He was over 70 when all this was going on.
Right.
And he's acting like this.
Yeah.
With a wife and a daughter and just whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing too. I wonder what his wife is thinking of all this.
Yeah.
So
or did she know?
Or did she know?
I
don't know.
I mean, you have to ask all these questions.
I mean, I'm sure she knew of some of Vince's indiscretions, but did she know about the extent of this?
Yeah.
I mean, the text messages were so vile that those alone are incriminating. No sensible man would send those to a woman or anybody and think that that's okay to send that to somebody.
Right.
Unless you're just, so power drunk.
Right. That's exactly what it is.
That you think that this is okay, that you can get away with this and do this.
It's thinking you can get away with murder. It's like you can't be touched. I think it's a power thing.
Yeah.
He figured, well, I could just do whatever I want, and then I can just pay her off, just buy her whatever she wants, and she'll shut up.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, you saw the gift list, right?
Yeah.
And it was just ridiculous. Yeah. That's another thing you look up. See, like, just bought her all kinds of things. In addition to basically hush money payments.
Yeah.
So
it's by far the worst scandal I've seen in wrestling history. This makes the steroid trial look like like they were eating candy corn. I mean, I have not seen anything this bad.
Yeah.
And Slim Jim at one point pulled their endorsement.
Yep.
And their advertising, and apparently they brought it back which we saw at the Royal Rumble. There was the match, the Fatal 4-Way, sponsored by Slim Jim.
Yep.
Apparently they brought it back once Vince McMahon was no longer involved in the company in any kind of way. I honestly, I did not think we would see this day until he died, where Vince McMahon was not involved. Now, Ronda Rousey on Twitter, she says that Bruce Pritchard is like
an extension of
his avatar.
Yeah.
And that as long as Bruce Pritchard is involved, Vince will be involved. But, I looked it up. He's not a topic, like at the very top. Triple H is over him.
Right.
So I don't know how much influence Vince is going to have unless he can get through to Triple H.
Well, that's what I was about to ask. What's his influence over Triple H? There's a lot of things we don't know there.
Well, we also know for a fact that there's a lot of things that Triple H disagrees with on Vince. There's a lot of wrestlers that were released that Triple H either advocated for or didn't approve of being released.
Yeah.
Honestly, if Triple H had a say in it, we probably wouldn't have seen Samoa Joe in AEW.
Yeah.
Because Triple H liked Samoa Joe. He actually caused Samoa Joe to come back whenever he was released. Triple H got him to come back to NXT. I don't know how much Vince McMahon is going to have involved in the business, but the less that he does, the better. Preferably, he has no influence over it anymore.
Hopefully he does. But I mean, you look at his family. I mean, Triple H is pretty much, I guess, except for Nick Khan, he's the head of that place.
Yeah, I don't know either. We'll have to see what happens with things. I mean, but see, to me, that would be a controversy too if we found out that Vince was running things behind the scenes, like some sort of like he's
like the Wizard
Emperor
of Oz.
Palpatine.
Yeah.
Palpatine.
Like he's the man behind the curtain.
Yeah. I don't think that would be good for wrestling if that got exposed.
Right.
What do you think about the press conference they had last night?
It's what I expected. There were reports that Triple H was going to address things, but he didn't address them at all, and I didn't expect him to. He just avoided it like the plague.
Yeah, actually, Cody said more.
Oh yeah, he did.
Cody talked about there being a dark cloud.
Yeah, he did.
So he actually, Triple H was trying to spin the positive on everything.
Right. I mean, yeah, it sucks to be in that situation, but first off, it's very early in this process. So, other than making comments on what's been done so far, I don't know what else he would have said, honestly. Removing Vince.
Vince didn't get removed; he resigned.
He resigned, but he didn't even mention that. He just said he wasn't going to talk about it. There was one reporter that asked, what's being put in place so that everyone feels safe in the workplace, that women feel safe in the workplace, and he just said everything. It was just
nothing
a very
specific.
General, right. It was just, he even said, I'm going to give a general answer. So yeah, I don't know.
I mean, this is so depraved and so severe that you can't do a 10-minute online training
Right.
on sexual harassment
Yeah.
and say that you've addressed this crap.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like, oh, we're going to send everybody a link to this 10-minute sexual harassment training video that you're going to watch and take a quiz on, and that'll be your training. No, this is so structural from the bottom to the top.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Right.
The whole company has sexual exploitation as part of its basis.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any worse than this.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of stuff that you would expect, like in like the porn industry or something like that.
I mean, that's the way he acted. That's the.
Well, he even referred to her as a porn star.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So that's how he was treating her.
Right. He just needs to be gone forever and ever, never to be seen from again. But we can't control that. We don't know what's going to happen behind the scenes. We don't know if he's still going to be pulling the strings. And honestly, okay, here's the other thing. Let's say he tries to do that. Let's say he tries to get in through Vince and he still tries to control things. Why can't Triple H? I understand the situation. I know it's his father-in-law, but he can't just say, no, I'm not going to listen to you. You don't have any power here.
He could.
He could simply do that, but will he? Yeah, I mean, because Vince couldn't do anything.
Well, I mean, it does make you wonder, though, what does Stephanie think about all this?
Right. Yeah.
Does she support her father, or is this too much?
Well, you know, a lot of old videos have come out lately where, and one was of Stephanie, and she was talking about different angles that her dad was coming up with. And I don't know if you remember the one where he wanted to do an angle where Stephanie was pregnant and Vince was the father. And then when she said no to that, he's like, okay, well, how about Shane's the father?
Oh, my God.
So, yeah. Yeah.
And all of that is made even creepier.
Yeah.
With the stuff that we know of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, if I was Stephanie, I would have thought that given all the evidence that Vince had the hots for her.
Yeah, he probably does.
I mean, he's as perverted as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
There's no limit.
Mm-hmm.
There's no limit to this man's depravity.
Mm-hmm.
And people talk about, well, you can't. He hadn't had his day in court. You're yada yada yada. I'm like, where do you think the text messages come
right.
from? Like, don't you think that they can like trace that and
Right.
figure out exactly where it came from?
Right.
I mean, like, it'd be one thing if she just popped up and said all this stuff happened and she had no evidence.
No evidence, right.
But she brought evidence.
Right.
Evidence that you can read that is just freaking weird.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And if he was sending this to like some kind of like sexual AI bot on the internet, okay, I wouldn't probably shame him for it. But he's sending this to a grown woman that's like, or anybody. I mean, he could have sent it to like anybody, and it would have just been like, what the hell, why? But she had to act like this is all cool because of the situation she was in.
Yep.
That he exploited. I know one thing. I'm glad that it didn't completely ruin the company. I'm glad that Vince is no longer like the sole owner of the company, and I'm glad that TKO is over it now because this would have probably killed the WWE. And I'm glad that Netflix didn't pull their deal. Vince McMahon resigned. That's the best thing that Vince McMahon could do. Vince McMahon said that all this stuff is malicious lies and he was going to vigorously defend himself. You and I both know that's not going to happen.
Right.
He's going to settle this.
Yeah.
Because it's true.
Right. Yeah.
It's freaking true. The text messages. I can't get over that. Where do you come up with crap like that?
Yep.
And also, he's got a race problem. And
yeah. Yeah.
Because that came up in the text messages too.
Yep.
Yep.
If
If you don't know what I'm talking about, you just have to read them.
Yeah.
He's got a race problem, but that's something we all knew too.
Yeah.
He's got a sex problem. He's got a race problem. He's a despicable person, and I feel like the WWE should give him the same treatment that they gave Chris Benoit, and that he should be completely canceled from everything in the WWE, and that he'll never be in the Hall of Fame. He'll never he shouldn't be mentioned ever again. They should do Triple H should get up there and do the same thing they did to Chris Benoit and say that after today's episode, we'll never mention Vince McMahon's name again on any of our program because he doesn't belong. They gave Chris Benoit 1 week to decide that was what happened.
Yeah.
So why are we waiting around to see what's going to happen with Vince's trial?
Right.
When there's all this daggum evidence. And there's and you know, with Chris Benoit, there wasn't anybody alive to testify, but we got someone as a living witness.
Yep. And another thing that killed me is that he actually used this person to sign a wrestler.
Yeah,
as part
Brock
of the
Lesnar.
deal. As part of the deal. Hey, Brock, I'm gonna give you this much money. Plus, you can do anything you want to do with this woman.
Yeah.
That wow.
Well, that's another guy that we shouldn't see the sight of. And now that TKO's over UFC, we shouldn't see him in UFC, and we shouldn't see him in the WWE. Get rid of Brock.
Right.
I mean, he's had a full career, you know. Now, do I think that Brock has done as bad as Vince McMahon has had? No.
He participated, though.
But he participated.
He knew what he was doing.
And exactly. I mean, we don't need to see him anymore either.
Right.
In fact, look at what happened. Look at what happened with the Royal Rumble. His absence actually benefited Up and Rising Star.
Yeah.
With Braun Breaker. And you mentioned not remembering what Braun Breaker did. I remember him. I want to say he did a gorilla press with Gunther.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, just was wreaking havoc in that match.
Yeah.
Braun Breaker got a chance to be in the Royal Rumble and put on a good show on a PLE because Brock Lesnar wasn't there.
Right.
So we need to cancel Brock.
Yeah.
You know?
And anyone else that was involved with this.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be more names coming out later. We don't know.
Yeah. How about Chris Jericho spoke out against Vince McMahon?
Really?
Now, what about that?
I didn't know this. What did he say exactly?
I don't know exactly the details, but he denounced Vince McMahon apparently. But he's got his own scandal.
Yeah.
Now, truthfully, I don't know as much about the Chris Jericho scandal, and I do believe in innocent until proven guilty. But like, what really persuaded me on this situation with Janelle Grant is there's a couple of things: the text messages and just the content. And then some people have talked about like this, all this doesn't sound right because it sounds so unbelievable. I think the fact that it's so crazy and that some of the thing, who would want to admit that they've done some of these, they were involved in some of these sexual acts that's in this paperwork, court filing. Why would a woman publicly, you know, she's already been humiliated, allow herself to in some people's eyes to be publicly humiliated by, you know, and having people say, oh, well, she got paid for it. Oh, well, we don't know if she's just doing it to get the money, you know, and bring up all the stuff that happened to her that's embarrassing for most people to bring up, shameful. And then you're gonna have these comments like what we've had. Why would somebody do that just to get money? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. If somebody was doing it just to get money, they would have toned it down. They would have said, I got sexually assaulted and left it at that. And that would have been the end of it. They would have had all these other crazy, depraved details. So the fact that everything's so crazy, to me, suggests that it's even more true. That's just my opinion.
I agree. I agree with everything you just said. I don't know. I just got this feeling we haven't heard all of it yet.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling she hasn't told the whole story.
Right.
I mean, this is just...
Or the whole story just hasn't come out yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we got a glimpse of it.
Yeah. We might have just scratched the surface with what we know right now.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if I was Vince, I would just settle this and get it over with and be done with it.
Yeah.
Instead of claiming I'm going to vigorously defend myself. Come on, man.
Yeah. It's disappointing to hear all these people trying to either defend Vince or say, oh, well, we got to, you can't assume he's guilty yet. But I mean, yeah, I would say that if we hadn't seen all the evidence so far.
Yeah.
But that's just not the case.
Yeah, it's just there's just too much evidence at this point.
Yep. I mean, it does suck that all that came out right before a pretty good show. But that always seems to happen, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's always, if something like that breaks, it's before a big event.
Lance, you ever sent a text out to a woman that looked like either one of those texts that Vince McMahon sent out to her?
No, not lately. No.
I mean, my gosh. That
was like pages too, pages and pages
of just perversion.
Yeah.
It's strange. So, WWE personnel have been told to not say anything.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why. There's legal.
Yeah.
WWE doesn't want to get sued.
Right.
I think Janelle's going to win this.
Yeah.
And she's going to win big, or she's going to get a good settlement or something.
Yeah.
Because there's just too much evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody in the WWE would actually come forward and corroborate this, then that would just be huge. But I kind of wonder if that was going to happen, because you'd have to admit, oh, I knew this woman was getting raped in this other room, but I didn't do anything about it.
Right. Yep. Well,
who's going to want to admit that?
Well, that's where they have to offer immunity to anybody that testifies.
Yeah.
I imagine they'll probably do that if they're able to convict Vince.
Well, that's last time we did a depressing topic, we had a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
So why don't we end this with the palate cleanser of let's play the R-Truth Judgment Day video.
I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina on a cold January morning. I'd never forget. The doctor held me in his arms, and I looked him in the eyes, and I told him, one day, I'm gonna be in Judgment Day. And wouldn't you know it, that dream came true. We've been through a lot together. Money in the Bank. The Women's Royal Rumble.
He's photoshopped in all these pictures.
The Judgment Day in your house. The Judgment Day is an unbreakable bond.
For the last time, you are not in the Judgment Day.
Sure, we may argue from time to time.
I'm not in the Judgment Day if I lose this match tonight, but you're not in it if you lose either. J.D. McDonough is out of Judgment Day.
But now that JD is gone, we a real family now. Real, Finn, Priest, Tom and Nick Mysterio,
Tom and
Even
Nick
though I never met
Mysterio.
Nick,
Even though I never
he's
met
still my
Nick.
brother. Finally, I want to send a message to every WWE superstar on behalf of the Judgment Day. Listen closely. We are always here. If you want to talk. If you need a shoulder to cry on. As we always say in the Judgment Day. Live, laugh, and love.
That's excellent.
Oh man. Well, before we go, shouldn't we promote our new top 10 video?
Oh yeah. Okay, so we decided to do a top 10. We decided to do a top 10 on wrestlers that never quite made it to the top. And you know, the video I did pretty good going through it. So I did an honorable mention, a runner-up. Probably should have said honorable mention. Luna Vachon. Lance, do you know about Luna Vachon?
Yeah, I remember. Now, what I remember about her was when she was in the Oddities.
Yeah.
That's what I know. That's what I actually saw her. You know, her performances. That's what I saw her in.
Her. You know, she was in the Vachon, legendary Vachon wrestling family, and was a great manager and wrestler. But unfortunately, she never won the WWE Women's Championship. Number 10, Shelton Benjamin. What the hell?
Yeah. Yeah.
This guy in the ring was as good as a lot of other wrestlers who relied on their in-ring skill. One that's been canceled, Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking if Chris Benoit could be champion, why couldn't Shelton Benjamin be champion?
Yeah. Let's not give them all away though.
All right. I'll just end it with this one. Ted DiBiase. There was this confusing scheme where, like, the referee had plastic surgery to make his face look like Earl Hebner, and it was actually Earl Hebner's twin. And yeah, that was the storyline behind it. Ted DiBiase paid this guy to get plastic surgery to make his face look like Earl Hebner. Don't you just love wrestling sometimes?
Yes, I do.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. That was Attitude Era before the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
That's the kind of plot you would see in the Attitude Era. So Andre the Giant won the match thanks to the planted referee. And then Andre the Giant sold the world title to the $1 Million Man. Okay?
Yeah.
So for a brief period of time, he held the belt until Jack Tunney voided that championship victory.
Yeah.
And so it was no longer considered a legitimate sanctioned title change.
Right.
So close. Ted DiBiase, $1 Million Man.
Yeah.
I'll just end it there. But yeah, we did the top 10.
Yeah, what's the title of this?
Top 10 wrestlers who had their roads blocked.
That's right.
Roads with a capital R.
Yeah. So yeah, this came from, you know, all the talk lately about Cody not being able to finish the story. Will he finish the story? And it kind of gave us the idea, you know, who else was denied the opportunity to win the title. So that'll be coming out very soon.
Yeah, hope you enjoy it.
All right, so
we're picking up steam on YouTube. 100 subscribers.
Yes, I think we're up to 106 as of right now. So yeah, we're picking up 25 to 30 subscribers a week, and I hope that pace picks up. But yeah, I wanted to show you this. I guess as you start to gain more subscribers and get more views and things, they start giving you more analytics. And they gave me something that's very helpful. That's a heat map that shows when our viewers are online
Oh, really?
and actually using YouTube. Yeah. So,
Okay.
so as you can see, it's usually after 6 p.m. where most of our viewers are on. So that's when I've been posting. I've been posting between like 6 and 6:15, and that's been scoring a decent amount of viewers.
So you know what that tells me?
What's that?
We have an older demographic watching our videos.
I have data on that as well. Okay, so this is over. Let's see, this is showing the last 28 days. Let's see. Let me see if I can switch over to all. Okay. Our primary demographic is 25 to 34.
Really?
Yeah. That's 33.3%. Second is 35 to 44 at 25.1%.
So what was the first one?
25 to 34.
25 to 34.
Yeah, and then 35 to 44, and then 18 to 24.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So that's all. So that's all time. Now, if we go to the last 28 days, yeah, it's pretty much the same no matter what time frame I choose. So yeah, 25 to 34 is our primary demographic. Then 35 to 44. Although there's been several videos where it was more 35 to 44 than anything else.
Yeah.
It probably, I bet, I don't know, I haven't looked at this that deeply, but I bet that would depend on if the topic is on something that has to do with something like older, like historic or something.
Yeah. I imagine the older demographic is probably going to watch more historic stuff.
Right, yeah.
While the younger demographic is going to watch more current stuff.
Right. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, YouTube's definitely taken over as our biggest audience. TikTok is still gaining, but I don't think it's gonna be able to keep up with YouTube, which is what I want. I think YouTube's the way to go. Also, we're getting way more viewers on the podcast itself than off of Spotify or anything. I'd have to go back and look, but we usually don't get more than like 10 to 12 off of like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, like the traditional podcast platforms. But on YouTube, our last one, the Royal Rumble episode, got 37 views. The one before that about WrestleMania confrontations got 22. The Roads Blocked one got 137.
Huh.
Yeah, so yeah, and the Iron Claw one got 51.
Now, does this count like the people who watch the whole entire video, or just turn the video on?
If you watch it, I think it counts if you watch it for at least like 60 seconds or something like that. Like if you click on one, it'll give you like an average, what do they call it? Average view duration. Sometimes it's 2 minutes, sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's 10 minutes. But as far as YouTube concerned, a view is a view. So, but yeah, our video for the top 10 fat wrestlers, it just keeps getting views.
Good.
It's got like in the last 48 hours. How long has that video been out now? Like 3 weeks?
Yeah.
And just the previous 48 hours, it's gotten 309 views.
Dang.
In the last hour, it's gotten 8. So that one, so that's why I wanted to do another top 10 video because this thing's working.
Yeah. Well, Lance, we may need to consider just doing videos.
Well, the thing is that all the clips that I push out from the podcast produces a lot of views. So I figure just keep doing what we're doing.
All right, sounds good to me.
Yeah, and then we can make top 10 videos or whatever other kind of specials we want to do. I mean, we can do whatever we want to do. I mean, there's no rules to this.
We could do ASMR, like eating salad videos.
If it gets us paid. So.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for me.
Yep. All right. I guess we'll sign off from there. We'll see y'all next time.
Later.